Okay, so let me start. Let's wait for a few more before we start, but let me share my screen. All right, everyone can see my PPT. Received but not getting opened, PPT and dataset. PPT enabled. PPT is actually in PDF format, so you will be needing Acrobat Reader to open it. You are not able to download it. Okay. Did you ask in your WhatsApp group that you were not able to download it? Pranjay, if you're here, can you help me with this, or do I need to ask my coordinator to check on it?
And there's an option of dropping the PPT in the chat box itself. So
Okay, let
yeah.
me see. I don't see that option.
Maybe this is a webinar. That's the reason it's not.
Yes, it's not there. That is why I shared about 3 days back.
I'll ask the coordinator to like reshare the PPT again with the learners.
Yeah, please ask them to share the PPT. It is in the PDF format, so they will be needing Acrobat Reader, and the data sets are in the CSV format. Let me know when they have shared it again. Most of them must be receiving it by now. They have been shared, but they are only 4 out of 4, only 2 able to download. Vishwadeep, what you were able to download? Not able to download. I think there is a technical issue, Pranjay. They can check it up if they are not able to download.
Sure, ma'am, I'll inform the team right away.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. Meanwhile, that issue is getting solved. We can begin. All right. So we are going to start with Python for Business Analytics. So you guys must have studied a basic Python course previously, right? So now we are going a step ahead. Okay, Vishwadesh is saying scores and session 1 doc. Able to download. Okay, they'll check it up, Vishwadeep. Let's see. They might have to upload it again. Okay. So you guys must have studied basic Python previously. So we'll be using that extensively in our sessions. So in case you feel that you have forgotten some commands or forgotten some syntax, I would advise you to go back and revise it, go through it. So we'll be needing some list, we'll be needing tuples, we'll be needing dictionaries, we'll be needing for loops and things like that. Okay, so just revise your basic Python before starting working on this subject. And if you're good to go with the Python, then you're good to go with the Python for Business Analytics. All right. Okay. So let's start. So what will be the today's agenda? Today's agenda is we'll be going through a basic overview of the Python for Business Analytics course. Then we will be talking a bit about your project. The project you have to submit for 40 marks. App Store analysis. You will have access on your Upgrade Learning platform. Then we'll talk about the async content, module 2 and module 3, which will be referring here. Mapping those async content with your live sessions. And then we'll start on with our discussion with our Numpy. So initial 5-10 minutes, we'll have a discussion about your course, your project, async contents and everything. And then we'll go over straight to Numpy. Yes, there is a term. Kumar Baba is asking, is there any TEE for this course? Yes, there is a term and examination for this course. You will be having 3 case studies in the term and examination for 20 marks each. And you will be doing a coding directly on the Metal platform to solve that case studies and get those answers. We can talk about TE. I'll just note it down. I can give you the details of the TE in the next class, but this is a basic idea. There will be 3 case studies of 20 marks each, and you will be solving those case studies using your Python coding and all your libraries. Okay. In case, and the 40 marks is from your project assignment you will be submitting. We'll be talking about project in each of the live sessions. So today I'll give you the basic idea what your project is all about. From next session onwards, I can start taking up your queries for your project in each live session for 15-20 minutes. Or if you have more queries, we can go for more. And in case you're not able to give TEE, yes, Hitesh is asking, does Metal platform has Python interpreter to run the code and check the, yes, Hitesh, it does have a Python code interpreter. You can run your code, you can check your output, you can check for errors, and you can clear your errors. And even you will have your test cases answers. So you can run for those test cases, check whether the answer is matching. That means you are on the right logic. And when you're satisfied, you can submit it. Okay. You have all that facility in the Metal platform. And yes, in case you're not able to give TE on both the slots, or you do not do well on it for any reason, there is a re-TTT, that is a re-exam, where you have 5 case studies. Okay. And yes, the level of the case studies is difficult in all your examinations. Okay. It will be the kind of level you will be doing in the project. Okay. So let's talk about this course. This course is specifically for business analytics. So when you are doing data analysis, what all Python libraries you will be requiring, we'll be talking about those Python libraries. The first one is Numpy. This is a basic library, and this is a mathematical and statistical functions. It carries all the mathematical and statistical functions. Okay, and the reason we do start with Numpy is it forms basis for all your other libraries, whether it is Pandas, whether it is Matplotlib, whether it's C11, whether it is Scikit for NLP, or any other machine learning libraries or deep learning libraries, any library. Numpy is the basic library. You can say without Numpy, none of the other libraries would be able to function. Okay, so it has all your mathematical and statistical functions. Then in the second live sessions, we'll be starting with the Pandas. Okay, in Pandas, we will be dealing with 2 main data structures of Panda: series and data frames. Then we will see how to load our data into series and into data frames, how to manipulate those data, how to select that data, how to filter that data, how to sort that data, how to search in that data, and how to do analysis on the data and draw some conclusions and recommendations. Third live session, we'll be talking introduction to visualizations, where we will be loading the data from the CSV file. We'll be cleaning the data. Okay, we'll be cleaning for the null values, we'll be cleaning for the duplicate values, we'll be cleaning for the missing values or wrong data that has been entered. We'll check for all those, and then we will clean that data. Then we will prepare the data for our analysis. Okay. Then we'll be using Matplotlib for our analysis and to plot certain charts. C11 is a preferred library for doing charts and graphs in our data analysis. Okay, you can do same charts and graph with Matplotlib. You can do same with C11, but C11 get a better visual effect. You can add more colors. You can add more grading. So basically, a more in a presentation form, you can have better graphs. You can be plotting bar graph, pie chart, line chart, scatter diagrams, box plot, and styling them. Okay. So that is all these 4 live sessions will be all about. And of course, we'll be talking about your project App Store analysis. So now let's talk about App Store analysis. Okay. All of you guys have access to your project now, right? I understand. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Ashish. Thank you, Praneet. Thank you, Ranjan. Yes. So let's see what this project is all about. Okay. Now, all of you are aware what is an app store? You understand what is an app store? It is an application, right? Yes, Deepika. Okay, it is an application from where you download your apps, right? It is an application from where you download your apps. On Android, it will be Google Play Store. From Apple, it would be App Store. And for Samsung phones or Nokia phones or MI phones, you will have different app stores for particularly for their organization or for their brand. Okay, so you understand what is an app store. Now in app store, you have different apps. Some apps are free, right? Some apps are paid. You have to pay to download them and use them. And some apps are in between where you can download for free, but for using certain features, for using premium features, you have to pay. You understand these 3 types of apps in your app store? Many of you might have worked it or might be working with it, right? Okay. Now, as a manager for that app store, okay, your job is to increase the revenue, right? How can you increase the revenue? You can say, okay, there will be no more free apps and will have all the paid apps. You cannot do that, right? So what you need to do is, there is one more thing that generates revenue for App Store is in-app advertising, right? So when you're using a free app, so you are using a free game, you will see there are a lot of ads that keeps on popping up. Okay, when these ads keeps on popping up, the originator or the source of the app, the organization which are giving this app, they give money to, they pay the basic Google or Apple or whatever platform they're using, the cost of showing their advertisement during the free apps. Okay, the money is generated there. Now as a manager, you have to increase the revenue, right? You have to increase the revenue. You know, that is what mostly the business is about: increase the revenue, increase the sales, right? And specifically through in-app advertising. So you need to analyze your data in such a way that the objective for analysis is to generate more revenue, and you have to only concentrate on in-app advertising. Okay, you cannot say make it my free apps paid, or make it add more premium features or something like that. No, you're not going to those areas. You will only be focusing on in-app advertising. Okay, so now you're expected to understand your data. You expected to interpret your data, draw insights from the data by writing Python code. All right, so the marking scheme for your project is like that. You should be able to load and interpret the data. That will be 5 marks. You should be able to clean and prepare the data for the analysis, 10 marks. You can perform the basic analysis by answering certain questions, writing your Python code, 15 marks. And then you have to create a video of 10 minutes to present your key findings in your data and recommend the apps based on whatever criteria you deem fit for in-app advertising. Now, learners, I just want to make it clear, this presentation is of 10 marks. Make sure when you are submitting the presentation, do not exceed the time limit, because when I'll be grading your projects, I'll just see first 10 minutes, or maximum I can give the leverage to go to 12 minutes. But if you submit me the presentations that runs into 30 minutes or 45 minutes, I'll concentrate only what you can deliver in 10 to 12 minutes. Secondly, make sure in the end, you make very clear recommendations on your in-app advertising. Don't expect that during that presentation and where you are explaining your code, I myself interpret what your recommendation is. That is your job to give me very clear cut. See, if you're given any data to analyze in your industry, then when you go and present that analysis to your bosses or to your client, in the end, you have to give a very clear cut recommendations. What is the output of your analysis? So same way here, you have to give a very clear cut recommendations. Don't expect that I find your recommendations from your analysis. That is part of your job. Okay. So any questions regarding the project? Yes, Gautam, it might be me, it might be some other grader, it might be, most ofly it will be me. Rubrics and data, some people might be helping me. Okay. Since there are a lot of projects and the time is limited to get back to your lessons, so there might be some more people involved. First time users of coding or Python. You might guys have done basic Python coding. You have done that course, right? So how you are the first time users, Abhinav? All right. Even if that is not an issue, when you go through all those 4 live sessions, yes, it was just 2 weeks back. Okay. See, Abhinav, when you did maths in your school, so what your maths teacher used to say? Practice makes a man perfect. So the more you practice maths, the more you're confident in it. Same goes for the coding. The more you practice and more confident you go for the coding. All right. During the live session, I try to make things easier because I understand you guys are business people, MBA people, and many of you might not have any idea about coding. So I try to make it as simple as that. But my suggestion is on your async platform, there are some practice case studies. Okay. So go through those practice case. There is a async content. One case study is dealt while there is in your async content. Then a second case study or 2 case studies I'll be taking in your live sessions. Today I'll be taking a suicide case study from India, and in next 3 live session I'll be talking about IPL matches. So I'll be taking a cricket case studies to do entire Pandas, C11 and Matplotlib. And there are a lot of case studies, CAB, and 5 case studies I remember on async content. So at least what you can do is during your spare time, go through those case studies. If you want some little more practice, maybe 1 or 2, you will get a very good idea. Yes, Deepika, I'm coming to Piyush's question. So let me answer first the question asked by Abhinav. I'll come to your question also. So don't worry, don't get, see, jo dar gaya wo mar gaya. So don't get scared. It is easy. Just attend your live sessions. If you cannot see the recordings, go through your async content, you will be much more confident. I'm sure by end of 3 weeks, you will be much more confident. You can tell me, yes, ma'am, I can do it. No problem. It's just a matter of little practice. And when you do your project, you will be doing those codings on your Anaconda, and you will be doing hands-on coding along with me, Abhinav. So there won't be any issue. What kind of questions come in DE, ma'am? Aishwarya. Aishwarya, the kind of questions you will see here in your project, the kind of questions I'll be doing in your hands-on, same kind of questions will come in TE. Okay, I'll be setting your TE, so don't worry about it. The kind of questions I deal here and the kind of questions you deal in your project, the same kind of questions will be there. Do not get any tense about it. Don't fear about exams. It's more about learning. Yes, Piyush. Yes, you are also working. I'm also working. So when you decided to do this course, that means you will have some time. You will be juggling your work and learning. And you must be confident that you can do it. So you will be able to do it. Don't get scared. Let's do this project, today's live session, and once you do it hands-on, I'll be sharing the code with you after the session, and then you can check with it, you can work with it. Try to give an hour or so every day so that it doesn't boggle you down at the end. Okay. Yes, Deepika, I hope I have answered Piyush's question. Thank you, Abhinav. Video timing. Deepika, if the video is 5-7, believe in Deepika, when you do the project and when you will be explaining your code, and then when you will be giving your recommendations, I can bet you will have difficulty to squeeze it in 10 minutes. Okay, you will be explaining all the tasks or how you have performed those tasks, what is the output of those tasks, what you concluded from those tasks. Okay, believe me, that is why I'd never said don't do it 5-7 minutes. You will have issues in squeezing it in 10 minutes. Take my word for it. Okay, that is why, yes, last time people submitted me 45 minutes, 30 minutes presentation. So that is not recommended. Okay, so keep it short and simple in 10 minutes. If you can do it in 5 and 7 minutes, I'll be happy. Don't worry, I'll be happy. I'll be spending only 7 minutes on your presentation. Okay, so don't worry. Well, it's not about learning. Vandana, I didn't get your question. Well, it's not about learning. Aishwarya, in TE, it will be writing and running the code, not MCQs. It will not be MCQs, it will be writing and running the code. Piyush, you're comfortable with Jupyter Notebook. If you're comfortable with Jupyter Notebook, I don't see any issues. Okay, let's do the coding here. Let's do the coding here. And in case you face any issues, you can raise it up to me or to your upgrad buddy. We'll help you out. Okay, we'll help you out, no problem. Okay. Parvez, no data visualization questions won't be there in TE because metal, but data visualization is optional. I understand it won't be there in TE, but you're not learning this course because you just have to give exams. You are learning this course because you have to use it in the industry. And data visualization, doing charts, bars, graphs, you know how it is important when you're presenting your data to your client, when you're analyzing your data, right? So it's more about that, what you can do in industry, what skill sets you can carry in your industry. In project submission, I don't think so there is any data visualization question. I don't remember exactly, but I don't think so there is any data visualization question. But it is not so rocket science, Parvez, drawing bar graph and charts. It's just calling this. If I want to do a bar chart, I'll call bar chart function, tell it what's the data, what kind of columns I want, what kind of data I want, and voila, you have charts. You might have done in your Excels, doing some charting and all. It's just you select the data, select the chart, and you get your right answer. Here you just write one line code for it. So don't get scared. I'm having a feeling you guys are more scared than, okay, I hope I have answered all the answers, right? Okay, so can I start now? All right, so this is about the project. My recommendation is for before the next week LS2 class. All right, before LS2. I know, Piyush, you're not, you guys are from non-programming background, you're not engineers. So I'll be dealing with you guys in the same way. I've been teaching coding to the MBA students for last 5-6 years. So I know what are your limitations and I know how to get things across you guys. Okay. Don't worry about it. Okay. My recommendation for you guys is read through your project end to end. What is its business applications? What are the tasks you have to do? everything end to end. Just give a one reading. Try to see if there is any content, any question which you don't understand. See, if the question is technical, like it won't be technical, it will be more business oriented. So you should be able to understand that question. But if you feel that this question is little confusing, or I'm not able to understand this question, or I'm not able to what it is being said here while explaining the content, let's discuss those queries in LS2, or you can ask your upgrad buddy. Okay. So just because if you start doing project right from day one, start giving some time every day, and you're on the top of it in asking queries, there will be no problem in completing the project on time and delivering it perfectly. I know you guys can do it because batches before you are able to do it. So it's not that difficult. It's just giving the right amount of time from the beginning. So for the next live session, read through your projects. Nothing more, nothing less. Read through your project. See if you can understand it, and if there are any difficulties in it or any discrepancies in it. I have read through, so there won't be any discrepancies, but go through it. Any queries, you can ask me in the next class. Okay, so this is about the overview of the project. All right. So this is a snapshot from your async content. So that you will be seeing on your learning platform. So in module 2, you have Numpy, Pandas, Introduction to Data Visualization, and Data Visualization in Python. So your live sessions are accordingly mapped with your async content. Okay. So the first live session, that is today, we will be talking about Introduction to Numpy. Okay. And in your module 2 libraries, we have your Numpy. And similarly, second live session, Pandas, you have Pandas. Third, Introduction to Data Visualization, Introduction. And last one, about C11 library, Data Visualization in Python. Okay. So this is your async content mapping. So now I hope we can begin with your Numpy. Any questions till now? So what we'll be dealing in Numpy? The first thing we'll be dealing about the ABCs of Numpy, because anything you begin with ABC. You started English, you don't start English learning by reading Shakespeare, you start learning English by reading ABCs. Okay. So we'll start with the basics of your Numpy. Then the Numpy has a major data structure called as array. We call in Numpy, it is called as ND array. Okay. So we'll be seeing how to create those Numpy arrays, how to access those arrays, how to see the content of those arrays, how to slice and index those arrays, how to sort those arrays and filter those arrays, and how to perform statistical operations on those arrays, like minimum, maximum, standard deviations, median, mode. I hope you know what all these statistical operations are. You must have studied in your high school. Then I'm going to compare your Numpy with your Python list. You must have learned list in your Python. Okay. So we are going to compare why my Numpy array is better than the list when I have to do when I have to deal with million data points. Okay. And we will be taking about 2 case studies today. One is a small caselet, analysis of matches of Children Cricket Academy. For it, you will be having scores.csv. And second is suicide cases in India from 2001 to 2012, for which you have a suicides.csv. So guys, while I'm going through Numpy, I'll be taking about an hour or so to reach the case study. So just keep an eye whether the upgrad team has uploaded again, because you will be needing those CSV while doing an hands-on along with me on these case studies. So some of you can just keep an eye when the upgrad team has uploaded. They have posted in Telegram. Thanks. Downloaded. Okay, that's good. Thank you. Deepika, and thank you, Praneeth. You guys, all of you can go ahead and download it and keep it in your folder. And when we'll be needing to do the hands-on, I'll let you know. Okay, good. So let's begin with the Numpy. So basic, why should we learn Numpy? I have already said that it forms the basis of most of your libraries. And you will learn how to apply those arrays in the real-time data sets. What is the structure of array, how to load it, iterate it, and perform statistical operations. So that is our learning objectives for today. Okay. Now prerequisites. Before we start Numpy, I believe everybody has Anaconda and Jupyter on their on their laptops, right? You might have, you're familiar with the coding of Jupyter Notebook, okay? And you should be able to execute some basic Python programming. You might have done it in your last course. And there are few concepts I'll be needing. Importing the libraries and how to do list, tuple, and dictionary manipulations, okay? In case list is what I require today, in case you don't remember it, just revise those concepts, given half an hour or so, and revise those concepts for the next live sessions. Then I'll be needing your basic high school mathematics, what you have learned in your 8th and 9th class. What is the meaning of mean? What is the meaning of median? What is the meaning of mode, percentile, standard deviation, and so on. Okay, so I believe you guys understand what is the meaning of these basic statistical functions. Okay, good. So this is all we need to begin this course. So let's start with the ABCs. Now, Numpy is for numerical Python. It is a foundational package for your mathematical and statistical functions. So you have all your mathematical functions, you have your statistical functions, plus besides that, you can perform complex functions like Fourier transforms, your linear algebra, your matrix manipulations, everything on your Numpy. That is why it is a numerical Python, because all your mathematical and statistical functions and data are handled through your Numpy. And this forms, as I said earlier, forms the basis for all your major data science, data analytics, NLP, deep learning, neural networks, all those libraries that are being used in today's world for your analysis. Numpy forms the basics, and that is why we are learning Numpy today, to form the basis. And as I told you before, the main data structure is a multi-dimensional array, which is called as ND array. So we'll have that. And if you don't understand what an array is, I'll explain to you as we go ahead. So let's start. What is an array? When you talk about array, what comes to your mind? What comes to your mind? Can somebody tell me on chat? When I say it is an array, what does come to your mind? Okay. Array is not rows and columns. Collection of heterogeneous elements. Okay. Collection of elements. Matrix. Okay. Collection of data. Okay. 3 dimensions of data. Okay. All right. Everybody has a different opinion about the array. Okay. So let's see. Multi-dimensional data, collection of lists. All right. Okay. Everybody, let me get to the very, very basic definition of array. Array is nothing but a collection of data. The data can be homogeneous. The data can be heterogeneous. Okay. They can be stored. Yes, they are stored in the contiguous memory location. So Gautam is writing contiguous. Contiguous, you can write contiguous or you can say continuous. It's one and the same thing. That means the memory locations are next to each other. So array is nothing but collection of data points or data elements. Okay, collection of data elements stacked one behind the other, as Gautam has pointed out, on a continuous memory locations. Your array could be 1 dimension, could be 2 dimension, could be 3 dimension, could be 4 dimension, could be 5 dimension. That is why we say multi-dimensional array. So here you can see I have a 1D array where I have 1D means 1 dimension array where I have 4 data points or 4 elements or 4 data values. Different books, different people refer to them differently. Some would say elements when you talk in programming language, but when you talk in data analysis language, they might be saying data values or might be saying data points. So it refers to the same thing. Don't get confused. So you should be able to understand each and every lingo. Now, if it is 1 dimension, so most of you must have done graphs in your school, right? In graphs, what you have? Dimension, x-axis, y-axis, and when we do 3 dimension, we have z-axis. Remember? In graph, we have x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis, right? So those x, y, z-axis, when we talk in terms of Numpy, they are called as x is 0, x is 0, x is 1, 0, 1, and 2, x, y, z. So if I, instead of 0, 1, 2, I'll say x, y, z because that is the most common terminology. Maths terminology is used, but in Numpy terminology, it is 0, 1, and 2. Okay. So if it is a 1 dimension array, the data points are stacked behind one another. So these is a collection of data points stacked behind one another. We have on x-axis. Okay. I'll talk about shape later. So don't worry about what is written here. So in a 1 dimension array, I have data points stacked one behind the other. Now, when my 1 dimension stacks, 1 dimension array are stacked over each other, I get a 2D array. So I have a 1 dimension stack, 1 dimension array stacked over one another. Okay. So I get a 2D array. Now, when my 2D arrays are stacked over one another, I get my 3D array. So it's clear what is 2D array, what is 3D array, right? Now let's come to the shape. When I talk about shape, the number of data points here is 4. So for 1D array, it is just my number of data points. So shape is represented in the form of tuple, and tuple is your number in parentheses. Okay. So for 1D array, my shape is number of my data points in a tuple. Okay. When we will be dealing with pandas, or whenever you will be dealing your data sets for a case study, as soon as you load your data, the first thing you check on is the shape. Ki kitna bada data hai, how much data I have. All right. So now the 2D array, it is number of rows and the number of columns I have. So I have 2 rows and I have 3 columns. So here my shape is 2, 3. My tuple is 2, 3. So number of rows and number of columns. Don't do it reverse CR. It is always RC. Even if you're referring anywhere, refer it as R, C, number of rows and number of columns. Now here in 3D array, I have 4 rows, I have 3 columns, and I have 2 on z-axis. So 4, 3, 2. Hitesh, there is no limit. I have never, I checked on it, but I never found there is any limit to the dimensions. But yes, the more dimensions you have, the data becomes more complicated. In usually data analysis, you deal with 2D array. When you're doing deep learning or neural networks, you usually deal with 3D arrays. I've rarely seen currently any industry data that is dealing with 4D array or 5D array. But yes, conceptually, we do have 4D, 5D arrays. You can go ahead. Yes, Shruti, I'll be moving on to hands-on in my next slide. It is just the basic concepts I want to show you on the PPT, but after this, I will not be doing on PPT. I'll be doing only on Jupyter. For next 3 sessions, we will be working on, and today also after this slide, we will be working on Jupyter only. Yes, Manmeet, we have a method to directly return the shape. It is called shape function. I'll be showing you how to do it in the next class in Pandas. Pandas have that shape function. No, Parinit, we don't write 1,4 or 4,1 in one dimension. For one dimension, it's just 4 because we cannot say these are columns or this is a row. Okay, so we just write 4, comma, that's it. For 1D array, number of elements, comma, we leave the next space empty, and this is how the concept is. Okay. All right, so let's move ahead. So advantages of Numpy, it is faster and efficient, and you can be doing, you might be doing some analysis on Excel, but with Numpy, you can do a million. Can you process a million record on your Excel sheet? No, you cannot process your million record on Excel sheet. So you need your Python for it. So we have large variety of numerical analysis, statistical functions, and we work on a big data set. So let's get started. As Shruti was asking, all of you please open your Anaconda, open your Jupyter notebook, and open your working folder wherever you want to keep your Python notebook, so that you can remember. Like I do it, I put it NMIS and my subject name, and then for Numpy. All right, open your new practical notebook wherever, so we can get started. Okay, so I'll give you a 1 minute or 2 minutes to open your Anacondas, and let me open it too. Okay, you guys can see my Anaconda now. And please open your Jupyter notebook. Launch your Jupyter notebook from here. Okay. So before we move on to Jupyter notebook, I want to talk about setting up your environment. Okay. Now, Anaconda provides me Python environment. It provides me R environment. It provides me a lot other environments. Okay. So we are concentrating mainly on our Jupyter environment. Now, if you guys, yes, please. Let me see. Kunal, I have not dealt with Visual Code Studio. The course specifically said that you have to work on Anaconda Navigator. I advise you to do it on download Anaconda Navigator and install it. But if you are comfortable with Visual Studio, please go ahead. But for submission of your project file, it has to be IPNY in Jupyter Notebook format, because I won't be able to open any other format. Your any other format won't be accepted for the project. So I'll advise you, go ahead, download it, is free, Anaconda Navigator, and use Jupyter for the, at least use Jupyter for the project, because I won't be able to open your Visual Code Studio file in my Anaconda. I need Jupyter Notebook file for your project. Okay. For your own practice, you can go ahead. There's no issue. If you can set up your environment, no issues. But for project submission, make sure you have IP, because if I'm not able to see your code, I won't be able to mark it. Okay. All right. So before I launch my Jupyter notebook, I want to talk about environment. So if you guys are into reading books, so you must be knowing for a book to read, your book should be with you. Okay. It should be either on your bookshelf, or it should be in your Kindle, or it should be in your iPad for you to read. Similarly, if I want to work with Numpy, if I have to work with Pandas, if I have to work with Seaborn libraries, these libraries should be in my bookshelf or should be in my environment. So let's go ahead and check whether I have these libraries in my environment. I'm using Anaconda as interpreter and Visual Code Studio for project. Okay, then it's no issue. If you have Anaconda in Jupyter, no issues. For practice, you use Visual Code Studio, and for project, you can use Anaconda. No problem. Okay. Okay. So environment. So in case you see something like that, click on this small arrow and see what all installed. Excuse me. What all installed libraries you have. Okay. So let's search whether I have Numpy in my environment. Yes. You see, I have Numpy here and the version I'm using is 1.20. So it's telling me update is available. That means new version of Numpy is available, but I'm good to go with 1.20. So if you have, you can go ahead and check in your environment whether you have Numpy or not. You might have a higher or you might have a lower version, but it is good enough for us to work on. Okay. So right now I'm here. So let me go ahead and check for all my 4 libraries. Pandas. Yes, I have Panda. Matplotlib. I have Matplotlib and C11. I have C11. Okay, so we have all the 4 libraries in my environment. So we are good to go. You guys can also go ahead and check it up. In case any issue, let me know. So we can solve. See, the advantage of using Anaconda is that it comes with the pre-installed libraries. Okay, all my libraries are pre-installed. But just like as Kunal said, he's using Visual Code Studio. Somebody might be using Colab. Somebody might be using PyCharm. And it is not necessary when you go back to industry, you will be using Anaconda Navigator. You might be using some different environment. Your client might be using different environment. So you need to set up your environment for whatever libraries you will be using in your analysis. That is very important to understand. Before doing analysis, you should know what kind of libraries, what all libraries you will be using. And make sure those libraries are in your environment. So if you have Anaconda or you have some option, visual option to set up environment here, you can do it here. But what if you don't have that option? So how will you install it in your environment? So let's see that. Okay, so now I'm opening my Jupyter Notebook homepage. Okay, all of you can see my Jupyter Notebook homepage, right? So let's go to your Jupyter Notebook homepage and using new, create a new Python 3 file. So I'll be using my existing one because I have already written code in it and to save some time. Okay, good. So all of you have it. But what if you don't have it? What you will do? So let's begin here. Let me clean up this code for you guys first. Okay, all right. So let's start with a NumPy journey. And now the very first thing I said was, what if you don't have it in your environment? And what you don't have the facility or visual facility like you have in your Anaconda to install it there. What you have to do, go back to the basics and do it in the very raw form. So the command for installing your NumPy in your environment is !pip install NumPy. Okay, this is the command which you can execute to install NumPy in case it is not in your environment. Okay, it will do it for working of this code. So you can see my interpreter is telling me that is requirement is already satisfied and I have this library in my packages. Okay. And in case you don't have it in your packages, it will take a couple of minutes to get it installed and set up in your environment. Similarly, you can do it for Pandas, you can do it for C11, and you can do it for Matplotlib. So guys, remember to set up your environment and check for your environment for all the libraries before you begin with. This is a necessary condition, otherwise you will be facing the problem. Okay. The second thing I want to talk about is a list. I know most of you guys have done it in your Python course. So just give me a minute to recall those values, recall that concept. List is nothing but data points separated by comma, enclosed in square brackets, right? And this is my variable name. If it is a tuple, it will be in parentheses. And if it is a dictionary, it will be in curly brackets with a little different syntax, okay? Yes. Yes, that is the beauty of Kumar Baba says all libraries are available. Yes, that is the beauty of using Anaconda. We have pre-installed libraries, but this kind of advantage you not always have it when you're dealing with higher libraries or you're dealing with a different platform. Yes, Pratneet. In Metal platform, the Pandas and Numpy will be installed. The packages will be pre-installed. You don't have to do this. I'll make sure they will be installed. You will just have to write the code for the analysis, data analysis. Praneeth was asking whether we have to install these libraries on Metal platform for your TE. Don't worry so much about your TE. Relax and learn. TE will come and go. You won't even feel it. Okay. So recall. So this is our list. So I'm created a list, a Python list of height, where we have data points separated by commas in the square brackets. Okay. Now there is a method called as type to check the type of list. So sorry, the type of variable. So here I have list. So what if I change the square brackets to a parenthesis and run it again? So now we have a tuple. Okay. So if it's square brackets, it's list. If it is parenthesis, it is tuple. So I'm changing back to list because I'll be using list later on. Okay. The another thing is probably you might have done in your Python. Python shows a lot of warnings. Okay. And warnings are nothing critical as your error. So what we can do is we can let Python show the warnings and we can ignore it, or we can tell Python to ignore those warnings. So okay, to suppress those warnings, I can use import warnings, call filter function, filter warnings, and say ignore. Just 2 lines of code to make sure you have a cleaner output. Okay, so I'm going to suppress those warnings by writing these 2 lines of code. Okay, even if you don't write this code, it doesn't matter. If it shows some warnings in your code, you can always ignore it. So either you do the work or you can ask your Python interpreter to do the work. Okay, so you can suppress those warnings. All right, so let's begin with Numpy. Now, as I told you, your Numpy is in your environment. That is, your book is in your bookshelf. Now, if you want to read that book, you want to use that book, you need to get it down from the shelf, open the book, and read the page, right? So similarly, your Numpy is in your environment. Now I want to use your Numpy, so I have to tell Python, get my book from the bookshelf. So import Numpy. Import is a function by which I'm telling my Jupyter notebook, my Python interpreter, that I'll be using this library. Okay. So if I'm using Pandas, I'll say import Pandas. If I'm using Seaborn, I'll say import Seaborn, and so forth. So whatever the libraries you are using, I'll advise you guys, as per the industry standards, it is important and it is a coding standard and it does not look messy. So whatever the libraries you want to use in your code, Make it as a first step before you start analysis or before you load your code, to load those libraries in your notebook. Okay. Now I have imported it. What does this mean? As NP. NP is a short name I'm giving to my Numpy as alias. We all have our short names at our home, right? So I don't want to call it. So similarly, in my coding, whenever I want to call my Numpy function, okay, I'll be using it as calling it using its alias name, NP. Okay, you want to give NP, you want to give ABC, right? Okay, whatever alias name you give here, NP, you use it here. If you give ABC, you use ABC here, you call it XYZ, you call it XYZ. But the industry standard says, the coding standard says to say it as NP. So we'll be using as NP. Okay. Praneeth, yes, you're right, alias. Kumar Baba, what is command import for? Import command. Yes, in Python, it is important to give an alias. Mandatory to give alias, Ashish. Okay, Kumar, you got it. Right. Why the import is there. Okay, so any other questions till now? You guys keep on posting questions. I keep on checking chat. So you can, I can answer you side by side. So don't keep it bolded. Keep sending the questions. Okay. All right. So we understand what is the import statement. Now let's begin with arrays. So let me go back. Piyush, I did not understand. I'm not sure. Are we kind of going along, or should I open this at my end in my book? Yes, Piyush, you should open your Jupyter notebook. And I think you can start with first statement as import numpy as NP. Write it in your notebook and run it. Because as we go along, I will be asking you to do this code and I'll be asking you questions, what answers you will be getting. So if you have missed, since you have NumPy already, this is just basically initially for recalling, but your code starts with importing NumPy. So you can import your NumPy. You can write the code. I'll be sending this notebook files to you so you can cross check in case you miss anything. So all of you guys, please start with your writing code, import NumPy as NP. Okay. If you feel I'm a little faster, you can tell me to slow down. I can wait for you guys to write the code. But I am expecting you to go along with me as I'm explaining the code. Okay. All right. Now, let's start with the creation of arrays. How do we create an array? Okay. There are a number of ways I can create array. I can create array from a raw data. I can create array from the list. I can create array from a tuple. And I can create array from my data set. Okay. So we will see how we are going to create array. So the first thing, in case you have not created a list, so first thing you can do is create a list. So you can create, it's not necessary that you create exactly the same list as I have. Just create any list. Give it a name. Okay, I'm giving it a name height here. So I've created a list with 5 data points. Now I'm trying to create my n-dimensional array from the list. So that is the first step. To create that list, what I'll do, I have the name of the variable. Okay. I'll create a new variable for my ND array. I hope you all guys understand what is array. I prefer to give a name where I can recognize it in my later code. I don't like to give XYZ or ABC. I try to give a proper name so that whenever you are reading the code, or whenever you guys are reading my code, or whenever I'm reading my code, okay, I know what is it. So here my variable read that I'm creating an NP array, not a normal Python array. I'm creating a NumPy array, and my data values are height. Okay. So I prefer to call it like this. If you think it is a long name, you can give it a short name of your choice. So this is a variable name I have given. Then I'm calling the alias here and invoking the function array. Okay, np.array, because I want to create array, so I call a function array. So you don't have to remember much. What you have to do is, okay, I want to create array, I call array. Okay, simple. And I pass on the list name. And then I have my array. Simple, execute this statement using run and you have an array. So there is no output because I didn't ask for any output. Okay. So let's see whether I was successful in creating an array. So when I call it type, yes, it tells me that I was successful in creating n-dimensional array from Numpy. What error you are getting, Piyush? Can you tell me on the chat? Don't copy paste the entire, just a gist of it, what error it is saying. Okay, meanwhile, you guys go ahead and execute this command. Beta, array is ARRAY, not EY. Array nahi hai, array hai. Okay. Yes. Okay. No issues. It'll take some time to get hold of it. Okay, it's array. Okay. Okay. So it is a NumPy array. Now, what if I want to print the array? There are two options to print the array. One is using the simply print command. Okay. So let me do the first print command and give the variable name. So you might have done a lot of times in Python. So no rocket science here. So I'll get all my data points in the square brackets and telling me this is my array. Now, or I can just give my variable name and get the output. When I give just the variable name, it also tells me that it is an array, and as a function, it is showing to me with data points separated by comma separated values. Okay. So besides the kind of output it is showing, can someone tell me what is the other difference between the two? Okay, you guys execute it. Let me see what the chat is saying. Okay. Just a second. Done. Piyush is done. Okay, Vishwadeep is getting. Vishwadeep, C. Okay. Let me discuss certain errors you guys are getting so that everyone understand, because it is very important to understand our errors. Okay. Now, all of you, if you see the chat, Vishwadeep has posted on the chat that he is getting an error, name error, height not defined. That means Vishwadeep has not created a list before. So agar uske paas list, if it doesn't have, the Python doesn't know where is your height, what is height? Height is my variable name of my list. So Vishwadeep, if you have given some other name to your list variable, so you have to write that. I gave my list variable as height. So I give my list variable as height. If I give my list variable here as ABC, so I'll give it here as ABC. Okay. You need to create a list before you are creating an array out here. Okay. Because that is what I'm trying to tell you, how to create an array from the list. So even if I do it like this, because you know why because I have not executed this code. I execute this code, then I execute this code, I don't get an error. So agar aapne upar change, even if you have changed it here, but not executed it, it will get the same error. So this is the kind of error you were getting, Vishwadeep. I was able to recreate your error. Okay. So either you have not created it. If you have created it, you might not have executed it. Okay. All right. So Praneeth was helping out Vishwadeep. Okay. Okay. Guys are helping him out. That's good. Done. Okay. Fine. Sanhita, what do you want me to show again, beta? Can you tell me? Should I recreate the error or the list? Okay, here. See, this is the list I've created. I'm putting name back to height because in my code later on, I'm calling it again and again, and then I will have lots of errors. Okay, so I have here height. Okay, this is a list I've created. Data values. Okay, I run it, and the same name I have to give it here. Okay, whatever the list you have created, I'm giving the same name here. If you don't give the same name, you will get an error. It's already there in its memory, so it is not giving me, I would say, some other name. So Deep was getting this error. Okay, you got it now. So let's roll back the changes. Okay. So I hope you guys have checked that this is an MP. Yes. Now my question, who's going to answer the question? I shown you the difference between printing the array and printing the variable. One difference I have shown you in the output. Can somebody else tell me what is the other difference? Can someone tell me what is the other difference in printing, using the printing the data variable using print command and without using print command? Besides the output I've shown you. I said not in the output. I've shown you the difference in the output. There is some other difference. Don't tell me the difference between this. Tell me some other difference. Okay. You're all talking about the visible output. Okay, let me show you. Okay. So if in your code, you're writing print command and you write some code after that, okay? Even if you write some code after that, you will get an output from the print command, okay? And but if you want to write your data variable and you want to see your data variable and you write any command after it, it will not show you the output in the console. I did not get the output from it because after writing my data variable, I wrote another line of code. So if you want to see multiple outputs, use the print command. And you want to see only one single output, you can just use the variable name. Okay. Okay. All right. So this is one thing because I wanted to talk about this one because many times you guys, when you're submitting the code, you write it like this, you have seen it, and then you write 2 more lines of code and you forgot that this won't be displayed. So when you're submitting the code or when you're in industry working it, prefer writing it with the print command so that there is always an output. Okay, there is always an output. Try avoiding this. You can use it when you're learning because I'll be using this way. Okay, but try avoid it and try to use the print command so that. Okay, Vishwadeep, please come again. Please explain again. Okay, you didn't get it. Okay. Okay, let me show you again. So there are 2 ways to print your output. Okay, I'm doing it again. Either use a print function and in your parenthesis, give your variable name. Second, you just give your variable name and you get the output. When I run this command, okay, I get an output from the print and I get an output from my data variable, right? You got this? Okay. Sahil, see, just a second, guys. Sahil, if you're still getting the height error, check the spellings. First, create a height list. Okay, create a height list like this. Make sure whatever the variable name you have used here and execute it. Don't forget to execute it. and then use the same variable name while creating the array. Okay. Okay. Use that same to create the array, because using this suppress warning code will not help you, because this is an error and not a warning. You cannot suppress an error. You can only suppress a warning which is not of critical importance. This is a critical error. Okay, Sahib. Sahil was saying, can please someone share the filter warning code? I'm still getting the error. Okay. Okay, got it. All right, now let's come back to what we were discussing. So there are two ways, using print command and using the data variable. Now, with the print command, you will always and always get an output. But that is not the case with your variable out here. Why? See, if I remove my variable from here and put it before my print command, I will not see and execute it. I'm not seeing the output from the variable. So this is something you will get an output on your console only when your data variable is the last line of code in your cell. If it is not, you will not see the output. So remember, guys, whenever you're doing coding and you want to show the data, want to see the data output, always use a print command. That is a short way to get an output. Okay, I'm telling you, these are some of the very simple silly mistakes we have done, and we forgot it because we are in so much habit of writing it that we forgot. As soon as I write any code line after this, it will not give me the output. Just remember these few lines. Okay, so can we go ahead? It's clear now. Okay, all right. Now, so we have created an array from a list which we have initially created. Now let's try to create an array from the raw data. Okay, so let's try to create a 1D array from a raw data. So I have said np array and it is one dimension, calling the same np.array. In the parentheses, if you see, I am giving raw data separated by comma in square brackets. It's actually a list only, but I'm giving it in the raw form, not creating any other variable. So simple. I've created a 1D array. Okay, same thing, just copy it. And I'm printing my array. So I'm getting a 1D array. Now, what if I want to create a 2D array? Okay, what if I want to create a 2D array? So what my 2D array was? My 2D array was 1D array stacked on top of one another. So to create my 2D array, I call my alias, I call my function, and I have my parenthesis. So let me show you slowly. I have my alias, I have my function, and I have my parenthesis. Now to create for 1D array, I have used one square bracket. So this is my outer bracket for my 2D array. Then say if I want 2 rows. So I want 2 elements, 2 rows. So 2 set of square brackets. And each element will be separated by a comma. Okay. So one square bracket, one outer one, and I want 2 rows. So 2 square bracket of brackets within the first one. And then say I want 3 columns. So 3 elements out here and 3 elements out here. So this is how you give your input for your create a 2D array. Okay. So this is what I have written here. Simply pass your 2D array out here and run. You can see one row stacked on the top of another. Yes, we are sending a nested libs. Yes, you can give anything you want. It doesn't matter, beta. It is just a data values. Piyush is asking, can we give 1, 2, 3 in the second? You can give 1, 2, 3. You can give 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. You can give 6,000, whatever you want. These are data points. Doesn't matter. It can be anything. Yes, Abhinav, you are right. It can be anything. It is just a data values. Okay. So we are basically, Abhinav is asking, we are basically sending a nested list. Yes, Abhinav, we are sending a nested list. What if the number of elements do not match? Okay. Let's say, what if the number of, Shama is asking, what if the number of elements do not match? Let's simulate the questions that Shama is asking and see what we get the result. You get an error, Shama. If the number of columns are not matching, it will tell you that your nested sequence is not good and you need to have the same number of columns in both the rows. Okay. So whatever you doubt you have in your mind, create it on your code, run it, see if it is getting executed, and understand why it is getting executed. If it is not getting executed, understand the error. Sanita is saying, okay, which bracket to use when? Okay, Sanita, I can understand this is a very common question. See, when you are invoking a function, whenever you are invoking a function, I'm here invoking an array function or any other function like max, min, standard deviation later on, I'll use parentheses. For invoking a function, Shama, just a second, wait, let me answer the question of Sanita. I'll come back to you. Sanita, if you're invoking a function, you're using parentheses. When you're writing a list, for list, you're using square brackets. For when you're using a tuple, you're using a parenthesis. When you're using a dictionary, you're using a curly brackets. Okay. So that is basic idea. Square, when to use parenthesis, square bracket, and dictionary. So you can go ahead and just revise your basics, different data types, data structures in your Python, and you will be good to do. Okay. Shama is saying you're not getting an error on 2D array. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. Okay, you're not getting this error. Okay, Shama, can you tell me what is the version of Numpy you are using? Can you tell me the version of Numpy you are using? Okay, because you see, I'm getting here a visible depreciation warning. Visible depreciation warning means that in the previous versions of Numpy, I can create such kind of arrays with different number of columns. But with the newer version of Numpy, I'm not able to create this kind of array. This thing has been deprecated or has been okay. Okay. All right. So this has been this has been deprecated. Warning, I might not have executed that code, so I'm getting a warning. So don't worry. It's okay. It's okay. You must ask lots of questions. Okay. Now Vishwadeep is saying this code is not running. What error it is giving, Vishwadeep? It is not printing the output, or it is giving some error. Syntax. Okay, it is giving a syntax error. So you check your syntax, beta. Check on the syntax. Yes. Variable names cannot start with a numerical value. That is the basic of Python. Probably you must have done in the very first class. Okay, so remember those things. Vishwadeep, it is not considering 1D because your variable names cannot start with your numerical values or special symbols. Remember? Got it. Okay. Now can we go ahead? Now I have created a 2D array. So let me roll back the changes of Shama. Run it. Okay. Now what if I want to create a 3D array? Please all of you go ahead and create a 3D array where you will have 3 square brackets and 2D arrays on top of one another. This one 2D array, this is another 2D array, and this is another 2D array. Carefully try to create it and run it. So you have here your 1 2D array, 2 2D array, and 3 2D array stacked on top of one another. Please go ahead and create this and see if you are able to do it. Be careful with your square brackets. And let me know when you are done so we can proceed ahead. Okay, why array is important in coding Python? We are not coding Python, we are coding Numpy, Pradeep. So, and array is the main data structure of your Numpy. We'll be loading all our data set in the array. So array manipulation is important. That is one thing. Then I'll be comparing your array and list in the end to show you why array is better and efficient when you're dealing with 1 million data points. So usually your real-time data sets are 1 million, 2 million, 10 million data points. So why your list and tuples cannot handle it, why your Excel cannot handle it, whereas you need your Numpy and Pandas to handle it. Okay, so we have discussed in the beginning, but you still have questions. You can go through the slides or you can ask me here. Piyush, what is your confusion on brackets? Just be very careful, create slowly. What you can do is just copy your 2D. Here you have created a 2D array. Na? Copy this, put comma. See, I'll show you a simple way of doing it. I created this 2D array. Okay. So that I don't do mistake. Control C. I put my 2D array here. Then I put a comma, a 2D array here, put a comma, 2D array, and enclose it in a square bracket. Okay. So I have created a 3D array. So let me put this code out here. Okay. And since I'm invoking a function, so there is a parenthesis out here. So just a second to create a 3D array. So I have changed the number here. You don't change the number and run. I've created a 3D array. If you're still confused, tell me what is the confusion on brackets. What confusion you have? Print command, yes, this show both the output. Ajnika, I'm sorry, I'm not able to see your name. Ajinkya is saying that print command and variable are showing the same output. Of course, they will show the same output because you're referring to the same variable. But the format of the output is different. If you see out here, you can clearly see the difference. Okay. Print and simple variable are giving a different output in this case. Okay, done. Piyush, you have two brackets because you need to, how do you segregate it? How do you tell your Python that it is not a 1D array, it is a 2D array? Think. You have say you have 1D array. So you have one square bracket, or your data elements are there, right? Okay, let me show you, Piyush, why you need so many brackets. Okay, when I say I'm creating a 1D array, okay, when I'm creating a 1D array, I start with the square brackets, okay, right? You start your list with yours and you give your elements here, right? So these are your elements of your 1D array. Now, when I create my 2D array, okay, when I create my 2D array, so what are these? 1D array stacked on the top of one another. Okay, so I have my 1D array and I stack them on top of one another, right? This is I have stacked them. एक के ऊपर एक रख दिया. Now these are become individual elements. Okay. Now they are separated by comma. See here. Here one I have replaced it with a row. I have replaced 2 here with another element. And here I have replaced 3 with another element. Now you have to pack this list because they are these. Each row becomes see them as an individual element. You have to pack them as one entity. So you add another row of square brackets. Now, when you go for your 3D array, when you go for your, yes, one bracket addition for another dimension, because you need to pack your entity, right? You need to pack it as a one entity. Okay. So when you go for your 3D array, what I'll do, I take my 2D array, okay, stacked on one top of the another. Okay, and enclose my entire entity in the one single square bracket. So that is how you get your 3D array. I hope I'm clear now. Anybody still having any confusion? Yes. You got it. And now if I want to do a 4D, so this is your 3D array. Stack 3D arrays on one top of the another, enclose an entity, you get 4D. Get a 4D array, stack 4Ds on top of the other, enclose in a bracket, you get 5D, and so on and so forth. You can go ahead. Okay. Clear? Good. So when you do things like that, it becomes clear. I hope any other? So can I go ahead and delete this, or can do one thing so that you guys have, I'll just comment it so that when you are having this code and still that confusion pops up, you will understand it. Okay, I'll just write a comment here later on. Complete it with a comment so that you don't have confusion. So done with the 3D. Okay, we have done with the list, so I'll just run it and skip it this one. Now let's talk about tuple. You can create your array from tuple. We have created array from list. Now we can create an array from a tuple. Okay. So how do we create an array from a tuple? We create first a tuple. Tuple is what? Data element separated by comma enclosed in parenthesis. Okay, so you have tuple. What is a real-time use case where we use array? Yes, Sanhita, we will be reaching a real-time case in an hour. I hope so, because once I'm done with the concept, I'll do your case study today. And when I do this case study, let's give you a glimpse. So when I do this case study, you have here multiple dimension arrays where data is there, where you have 16 lakh data points, you have 2 lakh rows. So you have around 2 lakh rows and you have 7 columns and you have 2-dimensional arrays. So, and then we will be doing analysis here. So yes, we will be reaching this case study towards the end of your live session. And then you can see the how we have this, how do we use it in the case study. Okay, so Himani is asking, ma'am, there was a difference in the output when we use print and when we did not. Why so? Because print is a function, it has its defined output, whereas a variable, when you're dealing, see, when you're printing a using a print function, the output just shows you what are the data points. When you're using a simple data variable, it will tell you the type and it will enclose in the brackets and give you the output. So nothing much to think about it. Okay. Kunal, okay, I don't get, you're asking me something, Kunal? Kunal is saying, okay, no, all right. Okay, so let's go ahead with our arrays and finish creation of arrays and move further. Now I have created from the tuple. So just copy your list, change your brackets, and you have a tuple, and you can create your array invoking the same array function. And instead of your list name, you can give the, just a second, I'm not executed this. Instead of your tuple, you can give your tuple. So whether you create an array from a list or whether you create an array from a tuple, the output, of course, if the data points are same, the output is the same. Okay, you have a similar looking output in the both the cases. So in case you get a tuple from your input or you get a list from your input, you can change it to an array. Okay. Next, there is a very interesting concept of array of zeros and array of ones. Array of zeros and array of ones in Numpy. And why do we need it? We need it to create an empty, I won't say empty or a blank array, but we need to create an array. If we have a requirement, we want some input from the user, or we're getting a input string, and we need to have that shape of my array ready to accept that input. I can use my array of zeros and array of ones. Now, whether I'll be using array of zeros or whether I'll be using array of ones, it depends upon the processing I'll be doing later. So with the array, if I'm doing some kind of additions, I can use zero, array of zeros, because doing zero is an identity number for your addition, right? Identity number you might have remembered from your 9th, 10th maths. Whereas 1 is the identity number for your multiplication. So if I add anything to 0, the number remains same. If I multiply anything with 1, the number remains same. So that is the identity. So if I want to create an array of zeros, I'll invoke a function called zeros. I'll give the shape of my matrix, or if I want to create a 1D array, 2D array, and 3D array, depending. And I'll execute it and I'll get an array of zeros. Similarly, if I want to create an array of ones, here I have done it for 2 dimensions, and here I'm doing it for 3 dimensions. So I can create an array of ones. It depends upon my analysis. If I require this kind of my shape ready before accepting my input, I can use array of zeros and one. Okay. Now, few questions. Okay. Can someone tell me why there is a dot after zero here? Can someone tell me why there is a dot after zero here? Or a dot after one here? Yes, float data type. Correct. Few of you have answered float data type. So let me check. I'll use a D type attribute. D type is an attribute and it's not a function. That is why there is no parenthesis. So when I check on my data type, D type of my zeros, it tells me it is of type float. And that is why I have a decimal point. It is not actually a dot. It is a decimal point after my zero or after my one here. What is 64? 64. Float 64 is, that means the size of the memory allocated is 64 bytes. If it is 64 bits. And if it is int 32, that means 32 bits. Okay, so that means 4 bytes. Or 64 means 64 bits. That means 8 bytes of data. That is referring to the size of your data type. You want break for 10 minutes. Kunal, I'm sorry. We are still running quite late because we are a little slow on time. I cannot give you 10 minutes break. If you want, you can go ahead and take it. But I'll continue. Okay. All right. Now let's see if I want to fill in my data. Say I told you that the shape of my array, or if I want a basic shape of my array ready before the input stream comes in, how do I fill in the data? So I fill in the data using indexing, which I'll be talking about next. Once I'm done with creation of arrays. Okay. Okay. So once I'm creating, so what I'll do is I'm referring here it to the 0th element, 0th row and 0th column. So that is my first row, first column, that is 0, 0 for the indexing. And if I assign it a value 5 and execute it, my 0 here has been replaced with 5. Okay. My 0 has been replaced with 5. So this is how I can fill my 0 array or my ones array with the data. Okay. This is how I'm filling my zeros and ones with the data. Okay. Now, if you don't want data to be float type, you don't want these decimal points, you know that your input stream is integer. Rajan says 5. I don't know, Rajan, what you're saying about 5. Piyush, I was coming to that code. So just have a little patience. Whatever I'm saying, just read it. 0, 0,05 means I'm filling in the data. See, I'm filling my 0 array with the values, and this is what just explained it. Let me execute and reach to that code. No, it is not 5 rows, 5 columns. I'm filling the values, Kunal. I'm filling the values here. If I need 5 rows and 5 columns, I'll do it here. I'll do it here, 5, 5. That is not 5 rows and 5 columns. This means first row, first column, I need to change the value to the 5. I'm doing assignment operation here. Assignment. Okay. Piyush, why first? Piyush, it's not just why first. It means that if I want to fill any data, whatever the input I'm getting, I can fill it here. If you want to do it for your second what I have 0 1, so 0 1 2 2 comma 1. So this is, I'm just reaching the indexing. Yes, this is indexing. Then probably I'm filling my data out here. Okay, so it depends what you want to do with your, how do you fill in your data, because that was a question asked last time. So I added this code. How do you fill in your data in your zeros and ones array? How do you do an assignment? Okay, now the next thing we come to is, what if I don't want float data and I want to specifically do it for the integer data? Okay, so what I'll do is I'll specify my d type out here. Okay, so when I'm invoking my zeros function, okay, when I'm invoking my zeros function, so when after giving my shape, whatever the shape I want, 3 comma 2 5 comma 5 10 comma 30, whatever the shape I want, I'll specify the data type to be int 32. 32 means 32 bits of data type integers. So when I execute this code, you will not see any dots. Okay, you will not see any dots or decimal points out here. When you need to fill diagonally for zeros, I mean, Ashish, I might getting a hint like yes, for any assignment. Yes, identity matrix, yes, you can do it. Assignment you can do, it's not necessary for see, this assignment statement is not only for the zero matrix or ones matrix. You can do it for any matrix. You just identify your I and j's and the data value you want to fill it, use an assignment operator, and you're good to go. Okay, so I don't want it to be float type, I want to be integer type. So you see the decimal point has disappeared here. So that is how you create an integer data type if you want. Okay, now let's move ahead. Array of ones I have discussed. Okay, now 2-3 more types and then we go for the structure and content. Okay, next is what I want to create a random numbers. Okay, so if I want to create some random numbers, generate certain random numbers for my analysis or for any other purpose in my case study. If I want to create a random numbers, what I'll do is in Numpy, I have another module called as random. In this, I have two functions. One is random and one is randint. With random, you generate random float numbers between 0 and 1. And with randint, you generate integers. Okay. So within my Numpy module, within my Numpy library, there is a module random. And we can use a random function to generate floats and randint to generate integers. Guys, one thing you have to understand, Numpy has lots and lots of functions, lots and lots of modules. I cannot discuss each and every one, but only the ones we will be using or you will be using more frequently. I'm using those, and rest as and when you require, you can always search on them and learn on them. Okay. So random, when I am generating the number of floats, I know the values are between 0 and 1. Okay. The values are between 0 and number. So I just have to give the size of my array. So here I'm getting a 2-dimensional array and I'm getting an array as here. All right. So this is just a random generation of numbers if I want for any analysis. Now, when I'm generating integers, okay, when I'm generating integers, I have to give the lowest value that is allowed. I have to give the highest value that is allowed. And then I have to give the shape of matrix I want. Okay. Ashish is asking is what is the application of random numbers? Oh, Ashish should generate a lot of random numbers while doing analysis. Maybe not here in your project, but industry, yes, a lot of random numbers are generated for your gaming purposes, in your gaming apps or in gaming data. And there are plenty applications where random numbers are generated for calculations to see the wide range of output that can be generated, because you never know what your user can input. So generally, to simulate user inputs, random numbers are used. Okay. Okay, Sahil is getting an error. So his error is, Sahil, see, you missed this bracket. This, see, random has its own parenthesis, and when you specify size, it has its own parenthesis. Number of starting parentheses and number of ending parentheses numbers are different. Check. Okay. All right. All right. So let's go ahead. So you have a start, you have a stop, and you have the shape. Usually you will see as the lowest number, lowest value, highest value, and the shape. I prefer to rhyme start, stop, and shapes to remember so that you don't forget it. Now, if you see, I have given minimum value to be 5, maximum value to be 10. But I don't see 10 here. So the maximum value is not included. The stop value is not included. So let's do some experiments to check on it. What if I give the maximum value to 8? Okay. What if I give it to be 8? So it will choose the values only from three numbers, 5, 6, and 7. It will not go for 8. You say, might be, ma'am, because it has to choose only 6 numbers. What if I give 5, 5? See, even if you have to say give 5, 5, it has 25 elements out here. Still, it is restricting itself to 5, 6, 7 because my highest value, my maximum value is not included. Okay. So this is for random integers, start, stop, and shape. Now, guys, remember the range function in list. Can someone tell me what was the range function in list? What was the range function in list? Yes, please. Let me see some answers on chat. No, it is not for iterations. Yes, you use for iteration, but what exactly the range functions do? A little more clarity on answer of Praneet. Anyone? Yes. You generate a continuous set of values between a specified range. So if I give the range from 1 to 10, it will generate a numbers. Number one, range will always generate integers and whole numbers, not floats. Okay, that is one thing you need to remember about range. Second thing you need to remember, it will be a continuous number. So if I say range 1 to 10, 1 comma 10, so it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Right to left or left to right. I don't understand, Gautam, what you're saying. Okay. So in range that will be there. So there are 3 arguments when you go for range: start, stop, and step. Okay. When you define range, you have 3 arguments: start, stop, and step. Right? Just try to recall it. Range function. Starting element, the start number, the stopping value, the stop value will not be included, and the step. Say if you want to skip a number between so you can give 2, otherwise continuous generated. Excuse me, just a second, give me. Okay. You want me to go slow, Asha? Okay, I'll try to be slow. What you did not get? Random numbers. Okay, no problem. See, random, you understand what a random number is? What is a random generator? Random is something, that is not of in a particular sequence or in a particular pattern. It is generated randomly. Okay. So sometimes in our analysis, we have a need to generate those random numbers. Now, those random numbers could be float. Those random numbers could be integers. So for generating float, I have a random function in my random module of Numpy. And to generate integers, I have a rand int rand function in my random module. When I have to generate floats, my floats will always be between 0 and 1 with the size. So I know what is the starting and ending value, right? Both zeros and 1 are not included when I'm generating floats, but it will always be between 0 and 1. So I just have to give my size of my array. It could be 1-dimensional, it could be 2-dimensional, it could be 3-dimensional. Okay, my array could be anything. So here I have given size as 3,2. I prefer to give 2,3, 3,2, 4,5 because these are small ones and you can easily visualize. Okay, so here I generated floats with the array size of 3,2. Okay, and I have my output. Now, whatever I have to use my random numbers, I can go ahead once I've generated to use it in my analysis. Now, the second thing was if I have to generate integers. Okay. Now, to generate integers, I'll be using randint. Okay. Now, you must have studied in maths that integers are infinite. Okay. So, integers are infinite. So, you need to tell your function between what values you need to generate your random integers. So you will specify a lower value or a minimum value. I'm writing here start stop shape. It is generally minimum value, maximum value in the shape, just to make it remember easy. Okay. So you start with your minimum value, you give your maximum value, and you give your shape. Okay. So earlier I have given here 3,2, I think. I don't remember. So whatever the shape you want to give. The only catch out here is the stop value is not included. Okay. The stop value is not included. Okay. So when I execute this code, you see, I have 5 as the starting point. I have 8. So my random number generator can get 5, 6, and 7. Okay. So this is what I changed the shape just to show that if in case someone has doubt, since it has to choose only from 6 values, it probably might not have chosen 8. So I increase the shape and okay, you got it. All right. Now let's see what Shreya has a question. Yes, Shreya. Shreya has written a code np equal to np.arrange 5, 5, 2, and she is getting an empty array. Okay. All right, Shreya, I'll just copy paste and write your code out here. And I would give an opportunity to everyone to tell why it is a correct code. Yes, the start and stop are the same. So if the start and stop values are same, it will generate an empty because stop values are not included. Okay. Since stop values is not included, it will generate an empty array. So there is nothing wrong with your code. It's perfectly good. Okay, Shreya. Since just change your stop value. Okay. And since I change it to 6, it is just giving 5 because you have given the step value to be 2. After adding 2 to 5, I get 7. So it becomes out of range. So it is giving me just one element as 5. Okay, Shreya. Ashish is asking, stop will limit to stop -1. Ashish, I did not get your question. Yes. Okay, stop will, yes, stop will be at one value lower. That is what the max value is not included. Piyush, why it is arranged and why it is not ranged. So I did not, numpy, it is numpy. So to distinguish, so that Python interpreter doesn't get confused between whether it is working for list or whether it is working for numpy. So just to differentiate between the two functions and do not get the users confused. Okay. All right, good. So let's go ahead and talk about the structure and content of the arrays. Now, before we go ahead and start manipulating the arrays, let's try to understand attributes, or what we call the properties of the array. Now, we can get the values of those properties, but remember, these are attributes, so there will be no parentheses because these are not methods, these are not functions, these are not behaviors of your array. So it won't be invoked as with parentheses. Simply, if to get the value of attribute, you just write the name of the attribute and there will be no parentheses in front of them. Okay. So what all attributes you can ask? First is endim. It will print the number of dimensions. Okay. It will print the dimension of the array, whether it is a 2-dimensional array, whether it is a 3-dimensional array. So I have created an array here and invoke endim. I'm getting 1 because it is a 1D array, and I'm getting here a 2D array. As simple as that, just the name of the attribute you need to remember. Now, the second attribute is item size. Okay. So now we have used height here. We have used height previously. So this is the same list. I'm just repeating it here just for you guys. Don't have to scroll up again and again. Now, what does that item size do? Item size prints the byte size of each element. So remember what my height has. My height has integers here. So it is telling me my int 32 is taking 4 byte size here. Now, you might be thinking, man, why this size is important? Why item size is important? So here in your array, you have 5 elements. And each element is taking your 4 bytes. So the total size of array here will be 20 bytes. Now, if you have 1,000,000 data points, what will be the size of your array? Can someone tell me? What if I have, instead of just 5 elements, I have 1,000,000 data. 1,000,000 data. I have 1,000,000 data points, and each one of has 4 bytes. So what will be the size of my array? Memory size. $4 million bytes. So what is 4 million bytes is called in terms of computer? 4 megabytes, right? 4 MB of data, right? So it becomes 4 MB of your data, right? So now, as if you change it to float, instead of array, you take float. Your float will have 8 bytes. So you will have 8 MB of data. Okay. And in case you have string and your string is taking 128 bytes, your 1 million of data will explode to 128 MB. Now, as you just change your data type, your array is exploding in memory for 4 MB to 8 MB to 128 MB, right? So in case you have space issue, in case you have processing issues, the size of array becomes important in terms of the data type you have chosen. Okay. So 1 million data points or 10 million data points is a very normal case when you're dealing with your industry data sets. So that is where what kind of array you choose to represent, what data type you choose becomes important. Okay. So same thing I have explained it to you, what I was trying to say here. Okay. One question that was asked in my last batch, so I included it here. I told you in the beginning, the array, your list might have a homogeneous type of data, or your list of Python can have heterogeneous type of data. But array always has homogeneous type of data. So that is one difference between the list and the array. Your Python list and your Numpy array is your list having heterogeneous type of data. That means heterogeneous means one data point can be integer, the other data point can be float, the third data point can be a string. Whereas for array, you will always have a homogeneous data. So all three data points will be a similar type of data type. Now, to simulate this question, I created an array, okay, of mixed data type. Okay, I have a list of an integer, of a float, and a string. So when I execute it, what output should I be getting? Can I see some answers on chat? Manmeet is saying error, 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 error. Okay, so everybody is expecting an error. So let me go ahead and execute it. I did not get an error. And it has created an array. Okay. Can someone throw the light? What happened here? I'm just saying that you cannot create an array of mixed data type in NumPy, whereas I was successfully able to create an array. Yes, Manmeet, you are right. What my NumPy did was, it did not identify them individually as string or float or integer. It identified all of them as strings. Converting to the highest, you can say to the highest data type. Yes, you can say that it is converting, since here my highest data type is string. So what you see here, data type as U32, it means Unicode with the 32-bit length. Okay, sometimes you see U10, sometimes you see U46. It's basically the size it is assigning to my string data type. So anything with U32, U46, U10, U11, it basically means you have all as a string data type. So there is no need to do it p type because it is already, let me execute here. So it is telling me my data type is 32 and 32 bytes into 4 is, so I have, 128 here. Okay, so 128 divided by 4 will give me 32 size. So I have 128 byte of data out here. All right. So we have discussed D type. D type gives me the, yes, it should, Manmeet, it should convert into the floats. You can try it out. Let me say you want to do it here. Let me do it for you. So we'll just check your theory also. What if I give integers and floats? I execute it. See, it has converted all to floats, right? I'm seeing 1 point because a decimal point is here, 2.5 and 14.5. So Manmeet was asking, so it will convert it to highest data type. Yes, it will convert to the highest data type. Then second question he was asking that if some integers and floats are given, so it should be converting all to the floats. Yes, it has converted all to the floats. Okay. So let me roll back the changes now again. Okay. All right. Okay, so next, let's move on to the next attribute, D type. I hope you guys understand what is D type. It basically gives me the type of data I have. So for height, it was integers. For salary, it was float. And for mixed data type, it was string. Okay, salary is one data I created out here for the float one. Okay, okay. So D type, we have discussed it. So nothing more to add on here. Next, we talk about the shape. Shape is very important attribute, and we will be dealing shape in and out whenever we are loading the data. That is the first thing we run on any data set is the shape. Try to understand what is the rows and what is the number of columns in my data. So whatever someone was asking, how can we see the shape of the data? So just invoke your attribute name. It will give you. So these are the arrays I have created before. You can scroll up the code and see. So whatever the name of the variables you have given for your 1D array, 2D array, and 3D array, okay? So you can check whatever the shape you have given there to create. Same answers you will be getting out here. So your answers and my answers might not be same because in the course you might have changed the shape or I might have changed the shape. Okay. So shape gives me the number of rows and columns I have. For 1D array, number of elements. For 2D array, my rows and columns. And for 3D array, same rows, columns, and the third axis we have. Okay. So we have shape, we have D type, we have item size, we have ender. Another one we have is the size. Okay. So size, generally when we say, sometimes what happens is we use shape and size interchangeably, but in case of Numpy, size refers to whenever you call on size attribute. Okay, whenever you call on size attribute, it refers to the total number of elements in the array. Okay, it refers to the total number of elements in the array. So I simply run it. See here, when I give the shape, it gives me in the form of tuple. And here when I ask for the size, it just gives me the number. Okay, it has shape, it has size. So let's check on the size here. Why the size of 2D is 6? Because 2 rows and 3 columns, 3 into 2, we have 6 elements in 2D array. Okay, we have 6 elements in the 2D array. Now let's check on the size here. It's 18. So if I create an zeros array with 3, 5, 2, so what will be the output out here? Okay, 30, right. Good. So Sanhita is saying, can you go back for shape for a moment? Sure, Sanhita, tell me what you did not understand. Don't worry, Sanhita, in case you miss the code, as soon as this class is over, I'm sending this code for you. So in case you miss anything, no problem, you will get this code as it is. Okay. So don't worry about if you miss anything. Okay. In case you do not understand anything, let me know. I'll go back and tell you. Okay. It might be feel that I'm a little moving faster because I have 2 case studies and I have very little time left. And I still have certain concepts of indexing, slicing, a lot of things to be covered before I jump on to my case study. Okay, going to overshoot a lot bit. Okay, now let's talk about Indexing. Indexing is used to access your data elements. Okay. Let me know if you are all good with the concept of indexing, so I can just mention it here. In case you have any doubt about indexing, I'll explain it. Okay. So I'll just try to explain in a very, very simple words. Okay. Let me see if I can open my whiteboard. Can you guys see my whiteboard? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to explain you little bit on the whiteboard indexing. So, okay, I create an array. I'm creating here a 1D array. Okay. Now, what is this? This is a 1D array. Now, to access the element, my array indexing, and it has 5 elements. Okay. My array indexing starts with 0. So if I have n element in my index array, my indexing will start from 0 and it will go up to n minus 1. All right. It will start from 0. So my first element will be referred in 0. So if my variable name here is ARR, so my first element ARR square bracket 0 is 1. And this is my, let me change it 10, 20, 30 so that you guys do not get confused. So my first element here is 10. Pardon my handwriting because writing with digital pen is little difficult. Okay. My second element or at index 1. So remember guys, don't get confused when I say second element. Okay, when I say second element, it means my index to be 1. When I say third element, my index to be 2, and so on and so forth. Okay. So can you tell me what will be my element at index 5? Yes. So this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and 5 I have nothing. So when I'm saying error 5, when I'm trying to access it, it will give me an error. Okay. So it will be giving me an error. Okay. So, okay. So let me create another one. So that was for 1D array. What if I have a 2D array? My 2D array is in a tabular format. Let me create one more row. Okay, so my 2D is in the tabular format. This is my 0 row, 0th row indexing. I'm talking in terms of indexing. This is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So this is my first row, this is my second row, this is my third row, and this is my fourth row. All right. Similarly, this is my 0th column, this is my first column, this is my as per index second column. So this is first, second, and third. Can you tell me if I have to access this element out here, what I will write here? Yes. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So row is 3, 0, 1. So it will be 1, not 3 comma 2. So column also starts with 0, dear. So column also start with 0. So 0, 1, 2. So it will be 3 comma 1. Okay. So these are simple things. Just keep in mind when you are doing your calculations. Okay. Any doubt? Anyone want to ask any question about indexing? I hope everyone is clear about indexing. Remember, always indexing starts with 0, goes till n minus 1. Clear? Okay. So can we go back to our code now? Okay, you want me to show for 3D. 3D, it is difficult to create, but I'll try to create. Shama, have you ever seen a cube? Have you ever worked with a cube? So when you are with the cube, you have this, okay? This point, okay? So this will be 0, 0, say this is, I'll start. So if my access point starts from here, so this will be 0, 0, 0. This will be 0, 1, 0, 0. Now when I move on my y-axis, so it will be 0, 1, 0. Okay. So if you can imagine a cube, and then you start moving for each cuboid, each small cube inside it, you can imagine how you are moving element by element. So there are all cubes in between. Okay. And then you can name accordingly how much further you have moved from 0, 0 points from the center point. Okay, good, got it. So can I now move back to code? Anyone having any questions regarding indexing? All right. So I'll close the I close my whiteboard and go back to my code now. Okay, so indexing is clear. So I will not spend much time in the code. So for if I write ND2, can some let me show you what my 1D array was. It was much ahead. So I created 1D array out here. I'll just this was my 1D array. So if I'm saying 2, what will be the output? What will be the element value I'm seeing? 3, right? So you got this. Okay. Now let me go back. If this is my 2D array, okay, I'm printing shape size. So indexing, if I say 2, 1, what value should I be seeing here? Okay, just give me the answers. You can execute this code later, because if you have understood it, then you can do it. 2, 1. It will be 0. Okay, let me print it so that you have a right visualization. Yes. So once you have an output, you have a right visualization, 0th row, first row, second row, and 0 column, first one. Okay. So if you start saying 0 column, 1 column, so you will not mistake, and don't say first column, second column, third column. So your mistakes would reduce. Okay. So 2, 1, I'll be having 8 answer. Okay. Now, okay. Now, if you have an array of string and same thing, you want to do it for string, what output you will have for 2, 1? H, right? Okay, good. So let's move on to the slicing. So you remember slicing operation of the list in Python? We are mapping similar operations there. First we did for range, and now we are doing it for the slicing. Okay. So again in slicing, you have start, you have stop, you have step. Here, instead of comma, like you have in range, you have colons in between. Okay. So you just write the name of the array. You write the starting element from where you want to slice. What does a slice of an array means? What does a slice of a cake means? You want a part of a cake. Give me a slice of a cake. What does it mean? It means I want a part of a cake. Or give me a slice of an array, slicing operation of an array. Give me a part of your array, right? So slicing basically means you want some part of your array. Okay. Now, okay. So now if I want to slice my array so that I get an elements from third element to the seventh element in the steps of 2. Okay. I get from my third element to the seventh element in the steps of 2. So my third element would be 0, 1, 2. So third element means index equal to second. Seventh element means element is 8 and in the steps of 2. And remember guys, the seventh element or whatever it is not included. Okay. Third element is 2, seventh element is 7, 1. So it should be 6 out here. Something must have done. So I might have changed for some students' request. So it will be from 2 to 6 in the step of 2. And the output I'm getting is 156 and 175. Okay. So any doubt in this answer? Yes. Ashish, it has to be 6. I write it 8. Maybe some student might have asked me to change to some value. So that is why I usually roll back. I might have forgotten to roll it back. Okay, good. So this is 2 to 6. Any question on slicing because it is same as your Python, right? Now, if you want to reverse an array, you can do it with the help of slicing. You do not specify the start number. You do not specify the stop number, meaning that you have to you will be taking all the data and you use -1. And what you get is the reverse of your 1D array. Now, in case of a 2D array, so this is 1D array where you have start, stop, step. Now, when you have a 2D array, you repeat your start, stop, step list and you do it with a comma. Okay. So you similarly do you for your 2D array. Okay. All right. So let's do it for your 2D array. I created a 2D array out here. So for your visualization purposes, so that you can know where actual location of your data is. So what if I want second and third row and all the columns? So I'll just specify for the rows 1 is to 3. So 0th, 1, 2. Now you might be asking why I'm giving 3. The 3 is not included. Remember, the 3 is not included. So it won't give me error. So it will consider only 1, 2. My second and third row. Okay. Now, if I want second and third row and only the last column, okay, I want only the last column. My last column is 0, 1, 2 at index 2. So I just specify the index of the column I want. Okay. But what if I want a more than one column? I specify its range. So start and stop for it. So here I'm getting second and third row and second and third column. So accordingly, what slice, big or small, you want for your cake, you accordingly slice it. Okay. Any question in slicing now? Good. So let's go ahead. Now there is another one. Now, there is another concept of reshaping your array. Okay, reshaping of array means you change the shape of your array. Yes, Gautam, I want to continue further if it is all okay with you guys, because I have a lot more to cover. Since we have been answering a lot of questions, you guys are posing queries. It's very good. So, but it queries is taking time. So I have a lot more to cover ground. So this is my first case study and then second case study. It is difficult. Piyush, it is not fast, beta. It's not at all fast. It is slow. I am, as per my time allocated, I am, because in next class we have Pandas, we have IPL case study, that again it will go longer. So let's try to see what we can cover if it till this class is still another half an hour. Okay, and if I'm not able to cover, we will cover it in the next class. Let's see how much time you can give it to me. How much time you guys can give? Can you guys give me half an hour more so that I can complete the concept and one case study today? Okay. Gautam, we can cover it, but then we will be, whatever I want to cover in LS2 will go to 3, and what I want to go to 3 to go 4. You won't go overhead, Gautam, I can promise you that. Okay, it won't go overhead. Okay, so now reshaping means changing the shape of your array. So say if I give you a clay, a putty, okay, you can create a cube out of it, you can create an oval out of it, you can create a sphere out of it, right? What you are doing, you are reshaping your putty, right? But the total volume or the total size of your putty remains the same. So similarly, if you have an array here, say 3,3 array or 5,2 array or 4,5 array, and you try to reshape it, okay, you try to reshape it. So what remains the same? The number of elements before reshaping and after reshaping remains the same. Okay, the total number of elements before and after reshaping remains the same. Okay, so say here I have an array of 9,1. So 1D array of shape 9. Okay, so there are total, the size of this element, size of this array would be 9. Okay, so when I try to reshape it, I can reshape to a shape which has where the size remain intact. So I'm here shaping it to 3,3. Again, here my size will remain 9. Okay, so let's try to run this code. So from 1D array, I have changed it to a 2D array, and my shape remains the same. Okay, my shape remains the same. Okay, what if I try to change the shape where the size do not remain the same? Okay, where the size do not remain the same, 5,2. So it will give me an error, because value error cannot shape the size of 9 to the shape of 5,2, because the size here would be 10. Okay, the size here would be 10. Okay, it is 2 dimension, Vishwadeep. Yeah, we have 1 dimension, here I have 2 dimension, but the total size here has changed to 10. So that is why there is an error. It is not a 3D. So if you want to do it in a 3D, okay, in that case, let me take a number. We had a number 18. Okay, so let me repeat it here. I repeat these data points. Okay, so that now number is 18. Okay, now my size, Vishwadeep is asking what if I want to do in a 3D. So I have increased the number of elements to the 18, and I try to reshape it to 3, 3, 3, 2. Okay, 3 3s are 9, 3 9 2s are 18. So when I reshape these my 18 elements into 3 dimensions, I'll get my 3D array. So the only thing you need to ensure is your size remains the same. The number of elements before and after reshaping remains the same. Initially, I had 3-dimension array. Oh, sorry. 9 elements in 1 dimension. I changed it to the 2 dimension of 3, 3. Vishwadeep asked me what if I want to do it into the 3-dimension array. So if I want to do it in the 3-dimension array, what I did was increase the size to 18, and whatever I shape I want, so the size should remain the same to be 18. Yes, you can get a transpose of an array, no problem. .t you write and you will get a transpose. Transpose is not an issue. Okay. Okay. Rohit, you mentioned error. I don't understand what you are referring to as. Okay. Manmeet was asking what if we can get a transpose. Yes, you can get a transpose also. Transpose is actually just, but your shape remains same in the transpose, Manmeet. In transpose, your shape remains the same. Here, I'm changing the shape, but my size remains the same. Okay. So let's go ahead and do some list and array manipulations. What I'll do is I'll skip vectorization. Today, I'll take up vectorization in the next class. Okay. I'll do list and array manipulation and do some statistical and first case study. Vectorization and second case study I'll take it in the next class. Okay. So that we finish. Error, that was when dimensions don't match. It's not the dimensions, Rohit, it is the size. Size is number of elements. The total number of elements don't match, you will get an error. Okay. All right. So now let's go ahead and do the list and array manipulations. For list and array manipulations, remember for list manipulations, if I want to add 1 to each element of my list, I have 2 options of doing it, right? Either I can use this short form. Say my list is 100, 200, 300, and 400. I'll just do I plus 1 for every I in my list. Okay. This is a short form. And when I run it, and again, this is a longer form of writing the same code using a complete for loop. I'm using for loop here also, and I'm using for loop here also. Okay. So I'm using for loop here also and here also. So what I'll do is same code, same function. So you can choose whatever you are comfortable with to do the adding 1 to the each element of your list. Now, what if I have to do the same manipulation in my array? I want to add 1 to each element of my array. In case of Numpy array, you just have to say the name of the variable and plus 1, and you get the similar output. So you can see in list, you have to perform iteration using for loop, and in arrays, you don't have to do this thing. And this is possible due to vectorization, parallel processing of the data, and this is why my arrays are faster than list. I'll show you in the next class what vectorization is. It is a little concept. So since your guys we'll take it in the next class, the first thing. Okay. Okay. So don't worry, it gets a little, I'll not overwhelm you with vectorization today. So this is a simple code. So if I want, okay. So I'll do the simple things which you know, and so that we have some kind of completion out here. So for array manipulation, if I want to add 1 to each of the data points, this is a very, very simple code you can do. Now, what if I have to do a product? Okay. Can you tell me if I have a list and I say asterisk 5, that is a sign for multiplication into 5, what output I'll be getting here in the list manipulation? Can I have some answers in the chat? Will I be getting 500, 1000, 1500, 2000 or something else? Think it's a list. Okay, I have few answers. Manmeet says 500, 1000 and Shrikant, Kumar Baba and yes, they are saying 5 list. Okay. No, oh, I am saying for list manipulation. Okay. So for list manipulation, when I say into 5, what my Python does is it repeats that list 5 times. It repeats that list 5 times. And whereas if I perform same function for my array, I'll get 500, 1000, 1500 and 2000. Okay. All right. So this is a bit about list and difference between how do you manipulate a list and how do you manipulate the array. Okay. I'm skipping this vectorization. Don't worry about it because without this, I will not proceed further. I'll take up this as the very first thing in my next class. Okay. But I'm not finishing up my class. I'll start with the statistical operations. Okay. Now let's move on to your high school mathematics. You know what is a maximum, you know what is a minimum, you know what is a mean, what is a median, what is mode. And do you understand what is a percentile is? Okay. Just give me some answers on chat. If you understand these basic statistical functions. Probably you might have done some in your business stats class. And even if you have not done, you have gone through your business stats class till now, you might have done it in your 6th, 7th, 8th stats chapter, maths stats chapter. Yeah, that is what I'm saying, Ashish. If your business stat is not done properly, you must have done stats in your 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, depending upon your boards. You have been till 10th, you have stats. One chapter as stats in your maths syllabus. You have mean, median, mode. You have min and max. Yes or no? Just let me know, guys, so that I don't have to explain what is meaning of minimum, maximum, standard deviation. Others are fine. Quartile not aware. Okay, good. Okay, quartile I'll explain to you. Rest is good. All right. So let me explain what a quartile is. How many of you have given entrance exams? Right? You have given entrance exams. So in some of the entrance exams, the score is referred to as percentile. Actually, it is. All right. So I'm coming to quartile. So I'll start with your percentile. So the person who has scored maximum is at 100 percentile. Okay. That means all the 100% students are below him, right? In scores, you score in your GMAT or GRE or your even for IITG exams or any other exams you might have given, GATE, RES. Percentiles are the relative scores. So same concept out here, percentile. All right. So now you got it, percentile. So if the person is at who has scored maximum will have 100 percentile, and your entire scores are arranged, sorted in your increasing order. So the maximum value is at 100 percentile. So if I have say 10 data values, okay, I have 10 data values in the increasing order, I increase it. So my 92, if a person scored 92 marks, he has at, say, suppose 10 students have given the exams and their scores are like 3, 5, 6, 8, 15, 40, 50, 80, 91, and 92. So the person who scored 92 is at 100 percentile. Now the person who is right in the middle, who is at say 50%, so 50% students are below him, 50% students are above him. Okay, he will be at 50th percentile. Okay, so if a person is at 25 percentile, it means 25% students are below him, 75% students are above him. He is at 25 percentile. So if he has 75% students below him, 25% above him, he is at 75 percentile. Now, do you know the concept of finance? When you divide your academic year into quarter, that means you divide your academic year into 4 parts, quarter. So quartile comes from that quarter. So I have divided my entire range of data into 4 parts. My first quartile represents my first 25% of the data. My second quartile represents my 50% of the data. My third quartile represents 75% of the data. And my fourth quartile represents the entire data. So the quartile has come from your finance, the quarter, and your percentile has come from you. Now you understand what is a percentile and what is a. So when I'm saying 75 percentile, 50 percentile, 25 percentile, you understand the percentile which you get in scores, and quartile, first quartile, second quartile, third quartile. It means it comes from your finance, that is quarters. You divide it into the 4, and accordingly you have your quartiles. Got it? Okay. Now, so let's perform certain basic statistical operations. So if I have a 1D array and I have my 2D array, now I want a maximum value out of it. So it will be max. Okay. So just run my start operation max. I'll call upon my max function and I'll have the values. What is the maximum value? Here it is 8, and what is the maximum value here? It is 6. Similarly, I can call upon my minimum value. So minimum value in this array was -3, and the minimum value herein was my 2. Okay. So percentile, I'm leaving it right now. If you want, you can execute it. If you did not understand it, we'll do it in the next class again. Okay. So here I'm invoking my percentile function, and what percentile I want? I wanted 25, I wanted 50, I wanted 75, or I can give any other name, say ABC, and I can see percentile means your data values are divided into 100 parts. Okay. So, and quartile means your data values are divided into 4 parts. So if I want a percentile, I can have it as 10 percentile. What is the value at 10 percentile? What is the value at 60 percentile? And what is the value at 85 percentile? So accordingly, I can get what is my scores at 10 percentile, or whether I'm at 40 percentile or I'm at 85 percentile. Accordingly, I can get my values out here. So it doesn't matter. So percentile means dividing your data into 100 parts. Quartiles means dividing your data into 4 parts. So I hope you understand this. This means 0.3f means string format, and here I want just 3 decimal point, 3 data, 3 numbers after decimal points. So if I say execute it here, so at 25 percentile, my value is 0.75 because my values is going in negative. At 50 percentile, the value is 3. And at 75%, the value is 6.25. So it will arrange the data in the increasing order and get those values. Okay. So to get the standard deviation of your data set, you can call standard function std. Okay. And in case you want to restrict it, you can use the round function as well. So if I give round, comma 2, so it will restrict it to the So round may, okay, okay. So if I get say round, so it will restrict it to my, I can either use round or I can use the formatting function, formatting option of my print function. Okay. So I can restrict it to the 2 decimal places. We don't use standard deviation much as we use mean. So mean is something which you have been using mean, minimum and maximum extensively in your project. So that is why I wanted you guys to do this one statistic function today, so that when you are reading through your project, you know how to calculate mean, you know how to calculate maximum value, you know how to calculate your minimum value and how to calculate sum. These 4 things you will be using maximum in your project. Your project cannot. No, it is not mandatory to give 3. You can give 5, 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, as many as you want. It is just I was using those quartile, I was using that same array, and I don't want to change here my indexes. I don't want to do that. So I just gave the 3. You want to do this, you can go for this. My 44 percentile, say if the passing marks is 33% percentile, so you can give 33 percentile. You want to give 75 percentile, whatever you want. No issues. Percentile means it's 100%, 100 divided into 100 parts. So whatever you want, but it's just I don't want to change the indexes and take your time. So I did it only for 3. So he was asking, Manmeet was asking why we give only 3%, 3 values in the percentile. You can give any number values, whatever you want, whatever your data analysis want. Okay. So mean, maximum, and minimum and sum. These 4 functions you will be invoking at max in your project. So when you will be reading your project, these 4 functions, you will continuously seeing what is the average value, what is the total value, what is the maximum value, what is the minimum value. So this is why I wanted to do this today, so that when you're reading your project, you have clarity what functions I'm going to use. So if you can give me 15 minutes more, I'll do this case study. This is a very simple case study. Okay. So it is a children cricket match. Okay. So cricket match, I assume everybody understands what it is. So let me show you my slides first. So what I want out of this case study. Okay. So it is very, very simple case study. I just took it because I just want to give you a glimpse of what we are getting into now. Okay. So there are 2 teams who have played a cricket match. You guys and everybody has played a cricket match sometime in their life or watched it. A cricket match is of 50 overs. So both all the 11 players of both the teams have played it and they have scored certain runs. So we have one list of team 1 array and second list of the scores of the second team. Is there a way to get an interactive help on arguments of the function? Yes, you can get it. You just press, depending upon whether you have Macintosh or whether you have Windows or whether you have Linux, you can check on what are the shortcut keys to get the function help. It was control spacebar or control down arrow. You can check on it. Yes, there are. This is a help. You can get it. I'll show you. I'll show you. Okay. So depending on operating system, Manmeet was asking, is there a way to get an interactive help on the arguments of the function? Yes, Manmeet, there is a way. Depending on the operating system of your laptop, the keys, shortcut keys changes. So for just Google and yes, even if it is on Jupyter, yes, you will get it on Jupyter also, but it depends on the shortcut key depends upon your operating system. So if you have Windows, it should be control spacebar or control down arrow key. Just check it out. Okay. So here we have 2 teams scoring. So what I have to analyze here, which team has won the match and by what margin, what is the highest, lowest and average score by. in each team and which team has scored a better run rate. Okay, which team has scored a better run rate. All right, so let's look out here. Okay, so this is the case study, simple case study, two teams having scores and this. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to our code. Now the first thing is you must have received a data file called as scores.csv. Okay, using this upload button, please load your upload your scores.csv. Okay, so CSV is nothing but comma separated values. Okay, these are, I have opened my CSV. So whatever the data I was seeing, the teams have scored, I'm seeing that in two rows. Okay, I have comma separated values. There might be some space, so space will be ignored when the data will be loading. So here I have my data set where I have on the row 1 score of team 1, and on row 2 I have the scores of team 2. Now 100% of the time your data set won't be so simple. So let's open my suicide cases data set. It's a huge data set, it will taking some time. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so this is my data set. Usually your data set would look something like this. The very first row will have the name of your columns, and from the second row onwards, comma separated values of your data. So it will go on and on your data. This is how your real time or data set would look like. So the first row would be your names of your column. But for a very simplification, just to introduce to you and you do not get overwhelmed, I am just using a very simple CSV where you have two rows of data for the teams. Okay. Now my very first step is bringing my data from my CSV file into my array. So the very first thing I'll do is read my data from my data set into my array. Okay. Now Numpy provides me two functions, gen, gen from txt and load txt. So both of them have their pluses and minus. Okay. Usually 99% of the time, you will be loading your data sets in Pandas data frame, okay, and not in Numpy arrays. But since I was asked to do a case study, so you guys have an idea how the arrays are implemented. So I'm doing it here with the Numpy, and so you have a better idea, okay. But usually you will load your data set in the data frame of Pandas, okay, not in the arrays of Numpy. Now, what advantages and disadvantages of using gen from next and load txt? Okay. Now let's first understand what I have written here. Okay. Now this is my array of my Numpy where I am loading my data from the file. So the first thing I have given here is my file name. And the second thing I have given here is my delimiter. Usually in comma separated values, my delimiter CSV would be comma. But yes, there might be lot of cases where your delimiter could be a space, your delimiter could be a colon. Then in case your file might be simply txt and not CSV, or could be a slash, could be a hashtag, or could be any other symbol. Okay. Okay, so it could be any other symbol. So you specify how your data values are separated. So if you see here, my data values are separated by commas since it's a CSV file. It might be the case, it might be a TXT file and my data values are separated by any other symbol like colon or slash or semicolon or anything else. So whatever the type, so you have to open your file and see what your delimiter is. Now both commands look same, right? Both the code looks same. But Gen from txt is better in handling the missing data. It has option something called as filling values. Okay, so I'm not displaying the code for it, but if you want to check it out, you can check it out. Filling values. So what happens in filling values? So say if you have 10 columns in your data, so you specify 10 values here, telling them if the data is missing from the first column, replace it with this value. If the data is missing from the second column, replace it with this value, and so on and so forth. Okay, so in case you know that your data set might have some missing values, okay, you go ahead and use gen from text and specify another argument called as filling values equal to whatever array name you want to give. Okay, so it will take care of your missing values. So that is the advantage of using gen from text. It can handle missing values better. But if you try to use load txt and you have missing values, Python will give the error. Okay, so if you have missing values and you try to do it with load txt, your Python will give the error. Load txt has an advantage. No, we are not using split right now. Split, Vishwadeep, what do you want me to ask? Split, can you clarify the context? You want to use split for? Okay. Load txt has certain advantage. It has something called as argument unpack true. So using unpack true, you can actually load the data into different arrays, segregating on the columns. Okay, so since we want, instead of a delimiter, no, you cannot use the argument. It is a standard function argument delimiter here. Okay, not split. Okay, so let's load the data and let's see if we are able to load the data. So I have loaded. See, I'm not going to spend much time on this gen and load because from next class we will be loading the data in the pandas data frame and we won't be coming back to numpy CSV files. Okay, so I have loaded the data into arrays. Okay, and since I did not specify what type of data, so it has taken it as float data. That is why you are seeing a decimal point. So let's confirm our theory. So we have loaded in the ND array. The dimension, it is a 2-dimension array. We have total 22 points. The shape is 2,11. The data type is float. So whatever we learned all about the attributes, we applied on this course. And we have, this is my array, ND array. My dimension is 2. The score is 22. That means, so you know there are 11 players who plays in cricket and there are 2 teams, so there must be 22 data. So we have total 22 elements. The shape is 2,11. Okay, and we can clearly see it is as a float type. Done. Okay, any question in executing the attributes? Any question here? I think you all got it. Okay, good. All right. Now, what I'm going to do, just for the sake of my convenience and do not do any kind of confusion, I split the scores into two arrays. So my row 0 would be team 1 score, and row 2 score will be team 2 scores. This is not required. I can continue to refer it as score 0 and score 1, but I just did it for my sake of convenience. Okay. No, D type is not integer. That is what I'm saying. So when your data was loaded, it has taken as float. So if I specify here D type, okay, to be int 32, it will load it as integers. So if I'm very, very sure that all my data types are integers, then only write input this D type. Because when you are dealing with the raw data, you do not know what kind of mistakes are there or what kind of data type some might have given it. This is a very clean data which you are seeing it. But when in go to the next case of suicides or IPL 20 case studies, you will see the data is never clean. You will never ever get a clean data unless and until you have cleaned the data yourself. So just to avoid error, I did not specify my D type out here. Okay. Once I have seen what data I have loaded, I'll be very much sure. No, the Pooja is asking whether the default data type is float. No, Pooja, the default data type won't be float. It would be the highest one. So in case I have scores here, and my one of the values is not number and it is hello. Okay. Instead of a number, somebody has in the raw data has put as hello. So my entire data type would be a string. Okay. My entire data type would be a string. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So in case, see, if it is all integers, it will upload it to the float. But if one of them is a string, it will do it for the string. Okay. Now next, so no problem with the dimensions. So can we move ahead? Now, when I have seen this data and I'm sure that everything is integer, so if I want to convert from float to int, I can say as type int. I did not do it at the time of loading of the data because see, here it is just 22 points. Whereas in my next case study, in my suicide case study, there are 16 lakh points. All right, there are 16 lakh data values. So there is no way I can go and check each and every one of them कि वो भाई integer है या वो float है. It's not possible. Okay. So when I have seen my data here, I can convert it as int. Okay. So I'll run it here. So the function I'm using is here as type, and what kind of value I want, I convert it into int. So when I try to understand, I'll print my score. So here, now the decimal points have been removed. I have my score. I have, and it is of ND array. So same function I'm doing for my team 2 also. So I have a clean integer array in team 1 score and team 2 score for processing. So I've processed my data, prepared my data for my analysis. So here I did the very simple thing of splitting the data into two arrays and converting them into int. So splitting was not mandatory. I can continue to refer them as score zeros and scores 1, but integers was mandatory because I want to manipulate that data. Now my first question was, which team won the match? So in cricket, how do you win the match? When you score more. And how do you know? Praneeth, you will be using both numpys and pandas. You cannot use pandas without numpy. Praneeth was asking for project, we will be using pandas or numpy. You will be using both, Praneeth, both numpy and pandas, because pandas cannot work without numpy. That is the very first thing when I started with numpy. I explained to you. Just 5 minutes more and we are done with the case study, and we can close the session for the today, and I'll deal with the society case study in the next class. Okay, just give me 5-7 minutes more, guys. Okay, I know everyone must be hungry. It's lunchtime. Me too. Give me 5-7 minutes more. Okay. So in cricket, how do you win the match? You score more than the other team. So to score, to check on the scores, how do you do it? We use the sum function. So now I can do this. So I'm printing my total. So team 1 score, and I invoke the sum function, and team 2 score, I invoke the sum function. So I know what is the total score scored by team 1 and team 2. Okay. So, right. So now I want to see who won the match. So what I'll be doing is I'll be using my if statement of the Python. So if I check the sum of team 1 is more than team 2, the team 1 has won. Elif, remember, if elif is, if team 1 score is less than team 2 score, team 2 has won, and none of the condition is true, that means the match was draw. Okay, so the match was draw. So let's find out the answer. Team 1 has won. Okay, it is a simple if statement. Team 1 score, invoking the sum. So you will be doing this kind of analysis in your project, checking on sums, checking on means. It will be like question like, which team scored the highest run in the entire season of IPL, or in the quarter 3, which store had the maximum sale, or what is the average sale of each store in this financial year, or which salesperson has sold the most, or what is the minimum sales recorded, what is the least profitable app, or what is the highest profitable app, or say for if you are analyzing data of Netflix, which movie is it has most popularity, which genre of movie has more popularity. So these kinds of questions which will pop up in your analysis, and you will use sum, mean, max, mode, these 4-5, only these 4-5 to get your an answer for your analysis. Okay, so here we know question 1, team 1 has won. Now question 2 was, what is the highest, lowest and average score? So highest by max, lowest by mean, average by mean. Okay, min max. So simply this and run. So you know what is the highest score scored by the person, team 1, what is the lowest score, what is the average score, and same for the team 2. Okay, next is third question, which team has a better run rate? Everyone knows what is a run rate. Run rate is total number of total number of runs you have scored divided by the number of overs. Okay, so we have used statistical functions, we have used conditional, and now we are using some mathematical operation out here. So whatever the team has scored divided by 50 is greater than for this. So team 1 has better run rate. Otherwise, if the run rate of team 1 is less than team 2, I'm repeating the same code. You might even do this. and then compare these two variables in the similar fashion and get an output. So it's up to you. I just copied and pasted the code from above and to divide by 50. Okay, so since team 1 has won, so definitely it will have a better run rate. So any questions till now for the case 2? For the case this one, we'll take up the suicide case study in the next class. Okay, I will not do it. I will send my code to my coordinator. My coordinator will send it to your upgrad buddy and he will share it with you. The same path, I cannot share it directly with you. So it'll same path the way. This is, I cannot share the link beta. This is on my local laptop. It's not on the cloud. So I will share, I'll download this file and send this file. I'll mail it to my coordinator right now, and she will mail it to your coordinator, student coordinator. And the student, you will get it by the evening. Don't worry. Okay. So any other questions you have? Let me know. Go through your slides, go through your this code again. In case you have queries, ask me in the next class. Don't read the vectorization code because I will explain to you. I did not take it because I know it was getting overwhelmed. Okay. And don't forget to read the project. If you read the project, you will have better chances of doing it because after the LS2, you can start doing your project. Ashish, what was your question, beta? I might have missed it. Can you? Okay. Can we expect that in TEE no such limitation to explicitly? Beta, in TEE, term and examination, you will be using both Numpys and Pandas, and the stress will be more on Pandas. After live session 2, you will you will get a clarity. Questions would be something like that, where you will do the analysis using min-max, but of the Pandas library, and there will be no limitations, right? You will have no other options but to use NumPy and Panda. The questions will be framed like that only. So don't worry. But you have to do, the limitation is that you have to do coding in Python. You cannot get the answer using Excel sheet. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay, don't forget to fill the feedback form, beta. The coordinator did share it somewhere in the chat. So you can go ahead and click on that link and share the feedback. It is great. It will be helpful for me in case you are facing any other problem which you're not able to specify in the chat. Okay. And if you like this session, you can do it right away. Okay. I cannot do that. Somebody must have done it. Pranjay has done it. Let me see at what time. I cannot share the feedback. I'm not allowed to do that. So if you go ahead around, I think around 12:30, he shared the link. Or probably even in the mail where you got the link for today's class, the link would be there. Otherwise, you can ask in your Telegram group or WhatsApp group, whatever it is there with your buddy, upgrad buddy, he can share it again there. Okay. So thanks, guys. Is there any question? Let me check. Yeah, Shama has shared it again. Thank you, Shama. Yeah, host can share, Gautam, but as an instructor, I'm not allowed to share. Okay. Only the coordinator can share it. As an instructor for this course, I'm not allowed to share. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. So you guys can leave. I'm closing the session. Any other queries right now? Yes, Parvez, this class was for Python for data science. That is it is data analytics here. For MBA student, we refer it as data analytics. There is a little minor difference between data science and data analytics. All right, guys. So I'm stopping sharing my screen. Let me check if Pranjay is here. Yeah, so I am the only participant. So thank you, guys. Let's see you on the next Saturday. Right? Goodbye and have a great week. Bye.